Hey guys, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. My name is Laura, for those of you that do not know, and for today's video we are going to be talking about romance books that have the single parent trope. And now, I know that sounds like a very defined, almost niche trope. I feel like most people wouldn't even consider if there was a single parent situation happening in the book that they're reading. They wouldn't even think of that, and it wouldn't even affect if they would choose to read the book or not, you know what I mean? But personally, I have found that throughout the years, I've just been so gravitated towards this trope. I don't know what it is about it, but I absolutely love seeing the interaction between the couple and one of their kids, and just how that relationship blossoms in tandem with the romantic relationship. And I don't know, I've just always found that these books are so enjoyable. Whenever I read a book and I find out one of them has kids, I'm like, this is gonna be good. I've talked to you guys on Twitter under some of my other videos, and this is literally one of my most requested tropes to do a recommendations video for, so I decided let's finally do it today. And of course, if you guys have other recommendations that I don't talk about in this video, let me know down below, because it's literally one of my favorite tropes and I will immediately read whatever you guys tell me to read. So I'm very excited to see what you guys have to recommend to me, but let's get into the recommendations that I have for you. First book on my list, and one of my all-time favorites, is called Dear Bridget, I Want You by Penelope Ward and Vi Keelan. This is actually also published under the name British Bedmate. I'm not sure the difference, if there is any, but I know it's the same book, so I don't know which one came out first. I read the version called Dear Bridget, I Want You, so that's just the one I'm going to show, but I think British Bedmate is also the same book. I don't know. This book, however, follows a girl who ends up renting a room in her house to this man, and he's a doctor, and he's British, and he's there for the year or something working at a hospital, and she has recently had a very tragic thing happen in her life, and her husband has passed away, leaving her and her younger son to themselves. Obviously, she doesn't really want to get involved with anybody, but this guy kind of comes into her life unexpectedly and ends up living there, and they kind of have this relationship that kind of starts, but she's a little bit hesitant because obviously her husband just passed away. She's kind of not trying to do anything, get into anything serious, but sometimes things just happen. So that's kind of how this book goes, and obviously she has the son, so we get to see interactions between the son and this guy, and it's just so wonderful. I love seeing the interactions between them, and this is just one of my favorite books where there's a kid. There's so many good moments. It's probably a good time to mention Penelope Ward's other book that has this trope, and that is Room Hate. This is a book that I talk about all the time. I talked about it literally in my last video. This book follows a boy and a girl who were best friends growing up, but they have a falling out. They end up reconnecting later on in life, but they don't really have a good connection. In fact, they really don't get along at all. However, they both inherit this beach house, and they have to share the beach house, so they end up staying there together for the summer, even though they don't want to, but it's kind of like they both own half of it and neither of them is willing to compromise. However, later on in the book, the main character finds herself pregnant, and I don't want to spoil too much, but I will say that she finds herself pregnant because obviously it's in this video, but I don't want to give anything else away because I feel like it's kind of more mid-book, but there is a ton of book where it's her with child. So it's not all just going to be her pregnancy and then the end she has the baby. There's a very decent amount of all that good single parent trope happening that you guys want to see. So don't let that kind of make you not want to read it, just knowing that she only gets pregnant in the book and she doesn't already have a kid, if you know what I mean. But this one's a really good book, not just for the single parent trope, but just overall. This is a really wonderful, well-rounded romance book, and I highly recommend it. In the same kind of realm as this, I'm going to talk about Another by Fiona Cole. This is a part of the Voyeur series, which you don't have to read the whole series to have read this book. You can read it as a standalone 100%, but the whole series is really good. This book follows a girl who ends up meeting this guy, and they have a one-night stand, and then months go by, she finds herself pregnant, and when she is pregnant, she ends up running into this guy again, and he obviously notices that she's very pregnant, and they don't have any prior relationship besides this one-night stand, but he's really freaked out, and he obviously knows it's his baby, so he kind of has to step it up. And so this does follow her pregnancy, but also it follows post-pregnancy, and it's a little bit different because it's not technically single parent, because it is both of the actual paternal parents that are in this story that are falling in love. So it's kind of different, but it still has the pregnancy and the child aspect, so I thought I would throw it in there. It's a really great book. I love this whole series, but this is one of my favorites. I love the girl character in this book. It's like a companion novel series, so I was very happy to see that she actually got her own novel in the series, so really recommend. It's a little bit different than your average parent trope type thing what we're talking about today, but it's still really, really good. One more recommendation where the girl actually starts off pregnant and then ends up having the baby throughout the book, and that is Chase by Kylie Scott. This is the third book in the Dive Bar series. She has so many series that like sound the same. This is the spin-off from the Stage Dive series. However, 100% it can be read as a standalone. Do not let that deter you from wanting to read this book. But it follows this girl and she's pregnant and she needs to get a job. So she ends up working at this little bar, and the owner of the bar, Eric, is known for having this like really bad reputation with girls. He's like super man whore. But he kind of takes a liking to her, and she's pregnant obviously, so it's kind of like weird territory. Like, how do you kind of approach a girl who's pregnant that you're like interested in, you know what I mean? And so she ends up, I believe, living above the bar, and he also lives above the bar, like in apartments. So they kind of have this like relationship that starts up, and obviously she has the baby. So it's kind of like that. It's kind of like good girl, bad boy. It's really, really good. I love the whole series and the series that comes before this series, but this one book is really great to read by itself, and it really has the trope of the single parent. It just is so cute. All the little scenes, like with a baby especially, like all the scenes with him and the baby, it's so cute. So I would definitely check this one out. Next book on my list is Hold On Tight by Abby Glines. This is a part of the Seabreeze series, but again, read it as a standalone. It follows a girl who, when she is a teenager, her boyfriend gets in a car accident and he passes away tragically. However, when she returns to town many years later, she has a child, and you can kind of assume that her parents sent her away because she was pregnant at a young age as a teenager. And the guy character in this book is actually her boyfriend who passed away's brother. So it's kind of crazy, but give it a shot. It's kind of different because obviously the guy character is like the kid's uncle, but ends up having this romantic relationship with his brother's ex-girlfriend, or girlfriend, because technically they didn't break up, he just passed away. So it's kind of a sticky situation, kind of a little messy, but I love this book so much. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Abby Glines. I think her books read so quick and just like movie-like. I'm obsessed with them. So I highly recommend this book. I love the whole Seabreeze series. I recommend the whole series, but this book in particular does the single parent trope really, really well. Next book on my list is Until It Fades by K.A. Tucker. I talk about this book a lot, and this book has the single parent trope so well done in it. This book follows a girl who gets pregnant at a young age, and she kind of does her thing, gets by good enough. She works at a diner to support her and her daughter. One night though, she's driving home from the diner and she notices this car on the side of the road that got into an accident, and she tries to help the two men that are in the car. She's only able to save one before the car literally like explodes. Turns out the guy that she saved from the car is a famous hockey player, and she doesn't want him to know that she had any part of helping him because she has a very messy past. She doesn't want her name to be in the media, but he's very hell-bent on finding her and thanking her. And so the story kind of starts there, and it's so, so good. Like I said, the girl has a daughter, and so you see the interactions between the daughter and him, and it's so, so sweet. I'm obsessed with it. And obviously, if you guys like the kind of like famous person or sports romance trope, that's all included in here as well. So it's really good for that too. But I love this book. It's literally one of my favorites, and I think K.A. Tucker's writing style is phenomenal. So if you're looking for some good writing, I definitely recommend all of her books, but this one in particular for the single parent trope. Last book on my list is one that I actually again talked about in my last video, and it's called Mr. Masters by T.L. Swan. This is a book that I read this past year, and I'm highly obsessed with it. It is about a girl who moves from Australia to England for the year because she ends up getting a job as a nanny. She's under the impression that she'll be going to England and working for a single mother, but she gets there and finds out that it's actually a single father, and so she's kind of scared. She doesn't really know what to expect, but she decides to just give it a chance because she's obviously flown all the way there. So she ends up moving in, and she becomes a nanny to his teenage daughter and younger son. Within the story, you see that these two main characters kind of have this undeniable chemistry, but they don't want to do anything or act on it in fear of ruining, you know, the situation that they have with the nannying. And so you kind of see how that kind of unfolds, and it's such a good story. I love it so much. Again, this is one of those stories that was kind of unexpected, where I read it kind of expecting it to be whatever, but it ended up being like one of my favorite books I've read so far this year, and I thought it was phenomenal. So I highly recommend it. Again, another book that has really great writing, and the story just kept me so entranced the whole time. So I highly recommend recommend it if you guys have not read this one. It's probably one of my favorites for the single parent trope because you see her interact with the kids so often because she's literally their nanny. So it's a really good one and I highly recommend it. So guys, those are all of the single parent recommendations that I have for you today. Obviously, I've read way more and I could recommend more, so if you guys do like this trope, definitely let me know by giving this video a thumbs up or leaving me a comment down below telling me, and again, tell me all of your favorite books that have this trope because I want to read all of them. Literally one of my favorite tropes. But other than that, make sure that you're subscribed to my channel if you're not already and you enjoyed this video, and you can also follow me on all of my social medias linked down below, like my Twitter and my Instagram. It's all at lovelylikelara. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you all very soon in my next video. Bye!